welcome once again.
Thank you very much, Sarp.
We're quite excited to have you here because one of the main reasons why we do this program is to inspire people to not just appreciate art at the fair, but also think of different ways of investing in art. And that's also the reason why we have this year's The Yard program curated by Marc-Olivier Waller, which you might have seen if you had a chance to visit the fairgrounds. So with that in mind, the first question that I have for you as someone coming from a country where there's so much public funding devoted to art is to tell us what Vision 2030 is.
Thank you everyone for being here, and thank you to Contemporary Istanbul to have me. It's a pleasure to be here in Tersane today. I've been working in public art for many years, a couple of decades, and I've been in Saudi Arabia since 2018. And what is the transformation taking place in Saudi Arabia today is remarkable. We have from 2016 that the Saudi Vision 2030 was published until today, we've seen incredible, like a massive leap of change. Vision 2030 is a program that creates structural reforms across the whole society. And the objective is to move away from fossil fuels and oil and to diversify the economy. So what we've seen, I mean, you probably have heard of like NEOM as one of the mega projects, or Alula, which is another project that is very well known and advertised, but we have dozens of projects across the country, and many of them, they have a public art and an art component. In terms of how the speed of change in the country, just to give you an example of the speed of change, in 2018 we had no movie screens. There was no film screens in the country because traditionally it hasn't been encouraged. But now in 2024 we have more than 600 screens, and now Saudi Arabia ranks the 15th largest film goers economy in the world. In 2030 we want to have like 2,600 movie screens. So I think the speed of change from 0 to 600 to 2,600, so it's like really, really fast. And I think this is really important to note. The other thing that makes this case particularly unique is the age of the population. We have 63% of the population in Saudi Arabia, they are under the age of 30. So that's also a very important element on this transformation. And as part of the diversification, arts and culture takes like a preeminent role. So we have a transformation that stems from 2030 vision that has arts and culture at the forefront, and that also has a population that is extremely young and that they're embracing this change with both arms. So I think it's a very exciting time for everybody working in arts and culture in Saudi Arabia and in the region. So that's great.
So just so I understand, Vision 2030 is primarily focused on environmental impact, but it has an art component.
Not only environmental, so
okay.
it's a fully structural reform that has environmental elements and sustainability, but is mainly the main objective is diversification of the economy away from fossil fuels, but across different industries. So we're looking at how can we be more sustainable, how can we have a larger participation of the creative economy and the GDP. For instance, tourism, the objective is to move from 3% to 10% in 2030, and we are well underway. So we have these really ambitious KPIs, but the creative industries and arts and culture is definitely at the forefront of the reform.
So how would you characterize the current public art scene? Who is getting invested in? Is it mainly local artists? Is it international artists? Who's getting featured prominently? And who is receiving positive feedback in terms of placement of sculptures in public areas?
It's a great question. So I think it's a mix of both. I think the images that we have on the screen, they are from a festival called Nur Riyadh, which is a festival that I've been working on since 2019. The first edition was in 2021. And just to give you an example, in talking about the festival and some of the images we see here, we see a lot of international artists. We see also a lot of Arab and regional artists. But we have a minimum of 30% of Saudi artists. And that really helped us to develop the ecosystem. We have actually a very interesting art scene in Saudi Arabia. It's unknown to most, so I invite you all to come to Saudi Arabia to see Noor Riyadh, which will be at the end of November, 28th of November, and to engage in the art scene. Noor Riyadh is only one of the different projects. We also have the Contemporary Art Biennale of Dereja, the Dereja Biennale, that took place earlier this year. We have the Islamic Biennale in Jeddah, which also has around 70 artworks. We have different art institutions like ITHRA in the Eastern Province. This is kind of like a foundation by Aramco that spearheads the arts and culture in that region. We have Hey Jamil in Jeddah. We just have a museum opened by Team Lab, the Japanese collective, in Jeddah as well. So there's actually a lot of different institutions and a lot of different projects working and engaging international artists, but also Saudi artists and regional artists. So I think it's a variety of all of those.
So a lot of the images we're seeing right now, they're all of temporary installations, is that correct?
Noor Riyadh is an ephemeral public art festival, so it lasts 17 days every year in the autumn. And yes, for us, I think when we started working on Noor Riyadh, it was very important to make a festival relevant for the city. So when you're designing public programs, public cultural programs, I mean, there's different ways of going about this, no? Sometimes you just look at what other people do and say, okay, this is really good, I'm going to copy this. Sometimes you actually have to look at what are the requirements of the city and make products that create that entirely new, customized for that. So when we started designing Noor Riyadh, we traveled to the main light festivals around the world, like Fête des Lumières in Lyon, the Amsterdam Festival, Berlin Festival, and we look at others like Vivid Sydney, and we just look at what those festivals had in common, why they were successful, how we can learn from those. And a lot of those festivals, they were activating the economies of the city in the times where the city was not busy. So most of them, they are in the slow winter months. Most of them, they also focus on activating the night economy, which has become really important for a lot of cities. And a lot of them, they have these pedestrian city centers where people could walk. For us, it was completely different. No? I think Riyadh is a city where we don't have a high density. Just in terms of area, Riyadh is as large as Istanbul. So I think it's like 5,300 square kilometers of area.
How many people live there?
But in Istanbul you have 15.5 million people. Riyadh is only 7.4 million people. So it's like half as dense as Istanbul. But we have the equally bad traffic. So our traffic is absolutely terrible. And I think that also forces you to plan a festival in a way that you take the festival to the people. So we wanted to take the festival to the different neighborhoods. We wanted to make sure that people run into the festival. Also because we didn't have a history of public festivals. Definitely not in 2021. Now we actually developed that. But in 2021, Noor Riyadh was the first festival of its kind, particularly after the COVID lockdowns. So it was really important for us just to take it to all of the different neighborhoods. So when people go to work, they find the festival. When people are coming back from work, when people are going to eat with their families, they run into the festival and then they want to learn more. And I think that was really successful to take the festival to the different neighborhoods. And that's also the luxury that you have with ephemeral public art. Because you can get it wrong. It's fine. You can really get it wrong. In 17 days, it's out of there. So it's not like if you're going to put a sculpture in front of somebody's house and they're going to hate it forever. So I think with ephemeral art, you have a lot of advantages. No? You can work with technology in a way that it's harder to work with permanent works. You can work with AV, and we can talk about this later. But you can see a lot of these works, they have like very interesting components of technology and audiovisual equipment that is really hard to do in permanent installation. So for us, this ephemeral format is really a blessing in so many ways.
So was part of the motivation to sort of help ease the public receptiveness towards public art by only showcasing works that they don't necessarily have to commit to, and then eventually slowly be like, well, what if we kept this here?
I think in a way, I think it's both, because some of these works is impossible to make permanent, as we discussed, but some of them we've actually acquired. And
this one's amazing.
In time, yeah, I love it. It's actually it's a great Saudi artist, Sahara Bundaji, because I mean, Saudi Arabia, again, is probably unknown, but there's an incredible music scene that has been underground for many years, and now it's actually just coming out of the ground. And I think this is also a homage to the Saudi electronic music scene for many, many years. It's a fantastic work.
So one question that I have is, when you're dealing with an environment that has not necessarily had a long-standing sort of familiarity or experience with public art, a lot of times with local governments, municipalities, there is a big process of art historical education and convincing that has to happen before they're willing to give you the funds and the permits and the space. Can you tell me a bit about how receptive it was for you, how receptive the system was towards your proposal? Was there a big hurdle of convincing them, or were they actually saying, no, we wanted this, we've been expecting you?
No, I mean, I think from the government side, from owning the festival, there's been an incredible vision on making this happen. And I think from the audience side, there was an incredible appetite, but of course we didn't know that until we were public, no? So there was a moment of hesitation. It's like, how are people going to receive this? Are they going to like it? Are they not going to like it? And I think from the first moment it's been incredibly positive. The people of Riyadh, they really embrace the festival as their own. I think for us, another of our main objectives is to generate civic pride, to make sure people take Nur Riyadh as their festival, and having this festival with this pioneering in contemporary art and light art, it really actually just makes them feel like happy about living in Riyadh. It actually have, not only for the Saudi people living there, but all the residents. No? I think a lot of us who call Riyadh home, but we are from somewhere else. I'm from Madrid, I'm from Spain, but I've been living there for a few years. So to have Nur Riyadh, or to have these festivals, I think it really actually makes a big difference on how we perceive our own city. And also a lot of these works, they are deeply rooted into the city and the culture of Saudi Arabia. 70% are new commissions, around 30% are loans or adaptations of existing works. But with the new commissions, we have a new theme every year. We work with our curatorial teams, with our usually mixed teams between Saudi Arabian, regional, and also international curators. So we really try to have a focus on making them relevant for the city, not only geographically, as I mentioned before, but also in terms of the curation of the works.
And it's entirely publicly funded, or are there any private companies that also sponsor?
We work with a number of sponsors.
Okay.
More and more every year. I think there's more interest, and the market is becoming more sophisticated and more ready for institutions to partner with us. But originally it was self-funded, yes.
So I've been seeing, maybe not this one, but I've been seeing some of the pieces are quite digital. So I'm curious as to how much of public art and how much of this festival is rooted in AI or digital art, or perhaps even the blockchain. What has been your experience with those in recent years?
Yeah, I think for us it's really important to, as a light art and light, obviously there's a lot of digital elements on what you can do with. I mean, I guess there's so much to do with light as a medium, using digital forms in one way or another. For us, working with artists at the forefront of technology and art and the intersection makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Charles Sandison, Garden of Light, he's an incredible artist. He worked with projection. He chooses words, and usually in English, but in this case he actually chose an Arabic script. And all the words, they keep changing and generating new sentences as they go. No? Christopher Bauder, there's no AI component, but this
is like Burning Man, but nobody even knows about it. This is insane.
This is an incredible piece, Action, and he worked together with like a King, which is a Berlin-based digital electronic music artist. And yeah, this was like an incredible disco out in the desert, like 1 hour from the city. Like that was absolutely amazing. No, we had a blast in this work, and yeah, Christopher has been working with us for the 3 editions so far, and he's a great artist. This is a work by Sarah Ibrahim, who is a Saudi artist. He works with choreography, which again, as many other things, before Saudi Vision 2030 was a bit controversial. Dance in Saudi Arabia wasn't really like promoted. Right. So I think the fact that Sarah, as a female Saudi artist, is working with different dancers, Saudi and non-Saudi dancers, I think is very interesting to see her work. This is one of the wadis, one of the riverbeds that we have in Wadi Hanifa in Riyadh, and this was a large scale. I mean, that screen was absolutely massive. The bridge is 35 meters tall.
So I'm seeing, I mean, I guess that was a Saudi artist, but I'm seeing also a lot of European names. I'm curious about the local emerging art scene and the young art scene, and how whether they have access to submitting works to you or realizing their proposals, how involved they are with the existing sphere, and whether there's any sort of public programs that encourage their participation.
That's a great question. So I think it's important to say that for us the main reason to do this festival is the people in Riyadh. I mean, then if it gets well known and we have credibility, that's fantastic. But I think the main thing is providing opportunities for the people in Riyadh both to visit the festival or to participate. So in ways of participation, we have a large volunteering program. Through the years, we had more than 3,000 volunteers to be part of the festival. We have an apprenticeship program, so we're giving opportunities to more than 100 young professionals to be part of the creative economy by actually joining the festival in different capacities with a mentorship program. And then we work with a lot of emerging Saudi artists. The art selection is done by the curators, so the curators actually, that's actually a very interesting work.
I love this one.
This actually is a participatory work, so depending on people's mood, the smiley face will be happy, so it just depends on the mood on the visitors. Yes, there's cameras, and then actually, yeah, it's a work by Julius von Bismarck, and we try to do a lot of participatory work, which actually makes it a lot more engaging. No? But going back to the question, so we do actually have ways of just engaging emerging Saudi artists, emerging artists from or Saudi-based in the program. So I mean, we've worked with more than 300 artists, and I mean, Riyadh is the largest light art festival in the world. And I mean, not that Guinness records mean a lot in our industry, but we have that Guinness World Record as like the largest light festival in the world. We have another 14 Guinness World Record, which actually help us to connect with some of our audience that might not necessarily be really sophisticated in the understanding of contemporary art, but they actually just feel that sense of civic pride and this sense of like record breaking, like a very, very interesting. So definitely in the contemporary world, Guinness World Record doesn't mean much, but for marketing purposes, it actually really helps us to connect with a lot of our audience.
I mean, but also it's aspirational, you know, it's a good motivation for people to participate or to come up with new projects.
It's good fun, and people feel excited to come to New Riyadh, and when New Riyadh is coming, I think people really notice that in the city. No, we have installations on the tallest buildings of the city, so when the festival is happening, no matter where you're driving, you notice that the festival is happening.
So once the festival is over, how has it been in the last few years where are these works, perhaps not this one, but some of the physical ones, the installation ones, are they placed in public institutions? How has the sort of curatorial and museum response been to these pieces?
Some of them, we have an acquisition policy, so some of them, after the festival ends, we collect and we acquire some of these works.
On behalf of the
Royal Commission, the Royal Commission for Riyadh Art. Some of them are acquired by other institutions as well. So sometimes it's a good platform for artists just to come show their work, and there's so many projects, as I mentioned before, with public art programs. So right. Riyadh Art is one, and it's at the forefront, and we have a target of more than 1,000 public works by 2030, so there's going to be a lot of artworks coming to the city, which is very exciting. But there's also, Alula has a public art program, Red Sea, Neon, that's a great video.
This is such a cool story.
No, it was like fantastic. This is a story, it was a beautiful story. It was a 15-minute story on this wall. And I love it because the artist, Morgan Phillips, he used the windows, sometimes use the windows as eyes, sometimes they use the windows as part of the stair. It was actually very, very exciting. And this work is incredible, it's by Mohanad Sono. What you see there is like 300 kilometers of nylon thread, and they were like linked together, and then there was a very, very dim white light, and when you enter like the whole room, it was like a very magical experience. It was fantastic work, and we're really proud of that work as well.
So you mentioned this briefly in the beginning, but I'd like to, if you can give us some more specifics, I'd really like to understand what the economical impact of this festival has been for public art and for Saudi Royal Commission.
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, one of the main focus of the Vision 2030 is to diversify the economy and to make sure that the creative industries, they have a larger percentage of the GDP. For us, with this program, which has very large budget, and with these 1,000 artworks coming into the city, we've done a number of studies, and for every dollar that we put into public art, we're going to get $3 in direct or indirect return. So
tripling it.
It's a fantastic,
wow.
It's a fantastic investment. It's but in so many ways, tangible and intangible. No, I think one of the problems we have is that we are competing with a lot of cities for talent. I mean, there's so much demand for talent right now. So people, the best talent have a choice on where I want to live. Do I want to live in Istanbul? Do I want to live in London? Do I want to live in New York? Nobody is really thinking today, do I want to live in Riyadh that much? So I think we really need to start just making Riyadh a much livable city. We need to move ahead and of our competition, create these like green spaces that we are creating, create all that incredible artworks in the public realm, these festivals that make actually people feel that they really want to belong, that this is a city where they want to spend their life and grow a family, and I think that's incredibly important for what we do.
I mean, 1-to-3 ratio is extraordinary, but I'm specifically asking because the scale of these and what I'm imagining is the labor and the hardware involved. This looks like a very expensive festival to build. I mean, so that's a huge commitment.
It is, but I think what it brings in terms of opportunities, I mean, if you just look at the amounts of jobs, the creation of jobs and the opportunities for people to kickstart their careers in the creative economy, I think that's incredible. No? Right. In any of the festivals, by the end of it, we probably have employed part-time or full-time anywhere between 1,500 to 2,500 people. And that's actually an incredible level of participation. Right. And a lot of them, they are young professionals, people who are accessing their first job in the creative industry, so in event management or in arts and culture. But once they have that, with that they can actually move into, maybe some of them we hired. We have a number of people in the team that they started as interns, no? Which is a great story, I think, to tell. But there's so many people that started their careers in Riyadh and now they're working for many other different institutions, which is great. This was an incredible takeover of the convention center in CAF by Daniel Buren. It was absolutely magical. Again, we worked with Daniel Buren and some of the pioneers in use of color and light art.
Did they keep this? I hope they kept this.
I tried to convince them, but the problem with this is that some people complain because under this roof you have offices. So some people were having a Zoom meeting and their face changed from yellow to red, and they said, "No, sorry, this is not serious. We need to remove this." So we had it for 17 days, and then, but it was an incredible work.
So when is the next festival?
So New Riyadh is coming up on the 28th of November. So
that's very soon.
Very soon, yeah, in a month. So
we're very grateful that you came out here. I mean, I imagine this is a crazy time.
It's a pleasure. No, we have incredible teams, and so honestly, the teams are fantastic, and this festival is going to be one of the best ones, if not the best. So if you have the opportunity, please come to Riyadh. It will surprise you, that's for sure.
So I imagine that you maybe want to keep some things a surprise, but in broad terms, what can people expect from this year and perhaps beyond from the festival?
I think one of the things that is always a signature of the festival is our drone show. Like I personally dislike most drone shows I've seen in my life. I find them absolutely boring and terrible, and it's like a collection of logos and shapes. So for us it's completely different. No? So the first year we worked with Mark Brickman, who was, as you know, is the scenographer of Pink Floyd, and he's an incredible artist in his own right. And Mark did this fantastic drone choreography with music. He actually generated the music and the drone show, and it was this beautiful abstract journey through human history, and that was incredible. Last year we worked with Studio Drift, which they've done a number of drone shows in Burning Man. They do every year.
They did at Basel, Miami too.
They did at Basel. They did also in the Venice Biennale. They did one in the Ocean Space in the church. So we actually brought Studio Drift, and they did they work with the patterns of bird murmurations. So they take the drones, and the drones actually, yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
Skull swarm. So the drones, they follow the murmurations of birds. So they have this organic flow, which is completely non-technological. So you feel like there's a flock of light birds moving towards you, and it's very, very poetic. So and this year we are working with I can't say the name, but an incredible artist, and it's going to be spectacular. So definitely drone shows is something that we are proud of, because we think also what everybody else is doing is not as interesting, so we really want to bring something that actually changes that and uses the medium of drones for something really, really creative. The other thing that we do is, this is the tallest building in Riyadh. It's called Kingdom Tower, and this is a star suspended in the middle. And so we always work with some of the high rises in Riyadh to make sure that the city knows that we've arrived. No? So no matter where you drive, you can see all the main roads. You will see that star in Kingdom Tower. And also this year we're working with another incredible artist. I can't say the name, but this is going to be fantastic. It's a different building, but you'll be able to see it from all over the city. So we definitely have the drone show. And then we do takeover of heritage sites. This is the Al Tureif Palace. This is the palace of the first Saudi state in 1713, and it's a UNESCO World Heritage. So we work with Bob Wilson, the famous opera scenographer and visual artist, to recreate. And there was a loop of 20 minutes with opera on the background, and he turned the palace into the sea, because all Riyadh used to be under the sea, like a few million years ago. So it was beautiful. So the bronze sculpture is the sun, and the rest was the sea and the sky. Anyway, so we really try to take advantage of the heritage element and the architectural elements of the city to play with the festival and to work with artists that actually just do these site-specific new commissions to bring the best out of the city. So we are really excited about that.
I mean, I'm really excited now. I'm probably coming, so.
Please do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think we have time for one question, if we have one. And if not, we do. I'll give you mine.
Thank you for coming and for this beautiful speech.
Thank you.
I was wondering, how do you make the selection of art installations? Are they mainly in the city, or if they are far away from the city, how can people reach there? For example, I saw one bridge, there was something under it.
Yes.
How people can, see around? Is it in the city or outside the city?
That's a great question. So we try to reach as many diverse neighborhoods in the city as possible, but we are slightly reshaping the festival. So on the first edition we had 13 locations, the second edition we had 40 locations, so we went everywhere. This year we're increasing the number of artworks per location, because before it was really important for us to reach everybody in the city because nobody knows what we were. Now that people know that we are a festival, I think we are prioritizing the visitor experience. So that bridge is in Wadi Hanifa. That is a nature trail of 200 kilometers. It's the riverbed. It's a 200-kilometer riverbed that basically goes through the city, and it's literally 5 minutes from my house. But it feels like it's like 1 hour away. It's interesting how you find these spaces in Riyadh where nature is really intertwined with the city, no? And then I think that's one of the beautiful things of the city. So yes, it's in the middle. This year we will have one location in the next to the National Museum. It's called Muraba. It's a very historical place. Another one is in Jax, which is warehouse development, similar to Tersane in a way. It used to be like industrial warehouses, 200 of them, and now they're being redeveloped into art studios, art galleries, spaces for creative industries, architect studios. So, I mean, it's not as grand, but it's fantastic. And then we have Wadi Hanifa, which is the bridge that you were mentioning. That's the bridge of Wadi Hanifa, is the road that goes over Wadi Hanifa. But under the bridge, there's an incredible nature space with it's a forest. You have like palm groves. You have like a lot of water, which again, we are in the desert, but we still have water in the wadi. So it's a very interesting feature of the city. But we try to go everywhere. Thank you.
Short question.
Yes.
Can you compare the environmental impact of your festival with similar other festivals?
So the question was, can you compare the environmental impact of the festival with other festivals?
That's a very interesting question, and I think people think light festivals, they might be bad for the environment because we use a lot of light. It's actually the opposite, because when we reach our locations, the first thing that we do, we need to turn off 80% of the lights, so otherwise people won't see anything. Like, you really need to control the atmosphere and the light in all of these locations. Sometimes you cannot turn off the lights, but you filter them. So we filter them usually either with purple or with red, and so the experience is really for the visitor. I mean, you need to be in a dimmer environment for the artworks to shine. Otherwise, the light from different sources can bleed into the space of the artwork, and the experience is not as good. So we actually
conserving energy.
We're conserving energy, but in some cases, yes and no. Because in some cases, for instance, we go to the desert, we're forced to use generators. Generators are not great for the environment. So we really try to keep an eye on how we are as sustainable as possible. And in some ways we can, but in some others it's harder. Some of our works, they really work with solar power. For instance, we had this year we have like a fantastic work that works with solar power, and we will see a lot of lights. They will start turning off as the batteries run out. So through the 7 hours that the festival is open, the work will keep changing, because out of the lights, some of them they will turn off. So and we really try to be respectful and gain awareness. I think Juaniola actually we had a work in 2023 with us, and it was like a work done with AI and with images of forest, bringing again like awareness about like sustainability. So we try to bring awareness and to be as respectful as possible, but in some cases, yes, we need to bring light. So it's a bit of a balance.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us and for telling us about the festival.
Thank you very much.
It sounds amazing, and I can't wait to see it.
Thank you. Thank you.